Hi, good afternoon. All right, the name of the next presenter is Laila El Sati. I believe I pronounced her well. All right, and she's going to be talking about project-based instruction in a blended context. Happy listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello everybody, I'm going to wrap up what many people said today about doing projects, coming up with a product and integrating skills. If we're thinking of a project in which the product is an essay or a presentation or a paper, could be a research paper for graduate students, and you integrate skills and you design some sort of a multi-layer task and you put that online, you get yourself a web quest. This is the outline of my presentation. The focus is mainly about designing web quests, and I'm going to talk about the elements of project-based learning. Web quest is computer-mediated project-based learning, and sample web quest, and the benefits of using a web quest. So these are the elements of project-based learning. We have the product in the middle, because this is like the essential part, and together with it we have a problem or a challenge or a question, and we have authenticity, because usually ask students to come up with something authentic, like an authentic essay to be published in a paper or in a magazine, could be the ELI magazine. A real presentation that could be individual presentation or a group presentation. And we have integration of skills. This is very important because students, they read, they write, they listen, and they speak, and they integrate other skills like critical reading skills or critical thinking skills, note-taking, paraphrasing skills, all the lovely skills that we talked about today. And we have application of learning, or another word that I love using, scaffolding. All right? By reading a lot and applying what they learn, we have scaffolding. And the assessment is an integration of both formative and summative assessment, because you are assessing the process overall and you're assessing the product at the end. From its name, a web quest. It's a quest for knowledge. Alright, maybe a quest for knowledge where students try to get information from resources that are online or on the internet. The term itself was coined by Bernie Dodge, a professor from San Diego University in 1995, and it's an inquiry-oriented activity in which some or all of the information that learners interact with come from resources on the internet. I'm sharing two templates with you. Like, in order to design a web quest, you have to have your own template. The first one is called the one-page web quest template. This is like the simplest template ever, in which all web quests share these characteristics, like the introduction here, the task, the process, the evaluation, the conclusion, credits, and the teacher page, which is optional somehow. Okay? For each part, you have a description of what you need to write. Usually the introduction is like the hook. You're telling your students what the whole task is about, what the activity is about, or what the project is about. And then in the task section, you explain what is expected out of them. And usually you can assign roles in this part, like if it's a group project or a group task, you can tell them, like, I expect you to work in like groups of 3 or groups of 4, and each one has a role of whatever. Then we have the process. This is the biggest part of the quest. This is the detailed part. You just write everything that the student needs to do in order to reach the final result or the final project. Like, for example, do you need to think of a topic? Do you need to work in groups? Do you need to go and search for online resources, and you write the links for everything that you're talking about? And you even anticipate problems. Like, for example, if you're going to watch a video and you have a link to that video about, for example, presentation skills or how to write using APA, do they need some kind of software, like media player? So you include that in your quest too. You include the link of everything that students need to use in order to come up with the final product. Okay? It's a little bit time-consuming, like on the teacher's part, but at the end, you have your own design, it is there, and you can share it with other teachers. And then the evaluation, you clearly describe to the students how they're going to be evaluated, and you include the rubrics that you're going to use, whether for the summative part, like for the final product, or the formative part, the process. And conclusion and credits and references. The problem with this template in particular is that you have to have your own internet domain. Like you have to buy a domain in order to publish that template again online. Google, thank God, have created us another design of a web quest that is already there for you to use with all the subcategories that we talked about. It's the same interface of Google, the classic Google website. I personally use the classic Google website, and I create my own tabs. I create home, introduction, task, process, resources, and so on. So you simply, the description here is mainly the same description that we had in the previous template, but the interface is different. So you simply click on introduction, and you start editing, and you write your own introduction. And once you finalize the whole thing, you just publish it or share the link with your students or other colleagues. I tried something different here. I have two samples that I designed myself. The first sample is mainly using the classic Google website, and I tried my way out with the new Google website. Okay, so let's check the first sample. The activity is mainly for grad students or grad students. I know that in rep you're teaching literature review writing, so maybe you can start with writing an article review. Or those who are teaching graduate students, and I'm sure that you've asked your students to write an article review. So you design the whole thing and you put it online, you share the link, and they do it and they submit their work at the end. We have the home page in which you define what the web quest is about. And you have an introduction to tell them, like what is the purpose of this quest, what I'm expecting you to do. And the task is very clear, to search for an article, analytically read the article and write an article review, and maybe give a presentation based on your article or reflect on your presentation with your colleagues in class. And the period of time in which they need to finish the process. This is the detailed part, as we said, the process part. You give them steps, like here I said, decide on the topic that pertain to the area of your interest, and then you need to search for your topic, and I have the different search engines that you can use, like Academic Info, Libra, you can use AUC Library Search, and then I'm telling them that you need to read and evaluate their article by giving them links to websites or videos. It's important here that when you try to make it easy when you're trying to make it easy for the students by giving them a website, try to cater to different learning styles. Like give a website and give a video that both talk about the same point. It's interesting for the students, like to have a variety of options. Then the writing process, I'm telling them in details what they need to do, how to read the critical summary, if they're going to use APA, I'm giving them links on how to do that, a video that tells them how to use APA. And here, as I told you before, I'm anticipating problems, so you need to use Real Player in order to watch this video. If you don't have it, you just download it there. I don't want to go through every single part or step of the process because it's very time-consuming, but I can share the links with you, like to the web quest. And then this is the process part, the evaluation part. So I'm telling them that how much weight this whole task carries is 30%, maybe 15 on the presentation, 15 on the article review. And I'm attaching maybe rubrics for them, like they know how they're going to be evaluated for the article review. The rubrics are there online, or you can create your own rubric, wherever you want. So this is for the first sample. The second one is something that we can use here in the ELI, whether IEP or Auto 10. it's mainly about writing a compare and contrast essay. But in this case, I'm creating sort of a mode. Like I'm telling my students, and in the introduction, I'm addressing them like, dear students, you're a journalist. Imagine that you're a journalist working for a newspaper, and you need to write a compare and contrast essay comparing elections in Egypt, for example, and elections in a different country or in a different culture. And they need, again, they need to sit together, think of how they're going to tackle the point that they need to focus on. They need to ideate, as Sophie said earlier, they need to brainstorm, they need to outline, they need to go to magazines and newspapers. So this is the other interface I was talking to you about. This is the new Google website. Okay, so whatever, which interface you feel comfortable with. I tried the two. I even tried the one that's unpublished, that's not published. I don't have a domain of my own. So give it a try. This is like, I'm sitting like the whole scene. I'm telling them that you're a journalist and you need to talk about elections. I love to address my students. It's a little bit personalized, like, dear students, I'm expecting you to do whatever. And this is the task. I'm telling them here is your task, and I'm assigning them roles. I need them to work in groups of 3. And I have the role of a manager, a role of a coordinator, and I'm telling them exactly what is expected of each one of them. And a technology facilitator, and there are shared roles as well. Like the 3 of them, like they're sharing some roles together. Here, you try to be as interactive as possible. Like I have a comment like, Tom is running and you need to start working on your task, and I'm telling them it's some sort of a competition, and the winning group will have its essay published, and so it's sort of getting them motivated. The process part, as we agreed, is the longest one. So we have the data collection, and I'm giving them links to different newspapers. We have Ahram Weekly, Egyptian Gazette for information about Egypt. We have BBC News, Al Jazeera, New York Times, or even Voice of America for those who need to listen, not read, about news from different parts of the world. We're talking about note-taking skills, critical thinking skills, even paraphrasing skills and summarizing, and they need to go to OWL to practice more on that. And the critical writing process, again, there is a website for the presentation process. That tells them about how to write a compare and contrast essay. And for the presentation, there is a website for effective presentation online. There is even a video on how to give a good presentation. And again, you anticipate problems and use any software that they may need. For the evaluation, here it's a presentation. So I have a process rubric. This is like to evaluate the whole process. Okay, the participation, contribution to the team, and interpersonal and team skills. And we have essay rubric. It's a Word document. Again, the rubrics are there online, or you can create your own. And we have a presentation rubric. Here, what's interesting about this rubric, like they're going to present as a group, and they're going to be given the grade as a whole, as a whole group. So this is the essay rubric. Conclusion, again, you give them something nice to end their web quest with, something motivating, like I hope you enjoyed the experience, and I encourage you to read more, this is not the end. And I have here a teacher page. It talks about the standards and objective of the activity or the task, and the resources needed, like what the teacher needs in order to design such a model. And even I'm anticipating, again, problem with the teacher, like if you don't know how to do like assign roles, you don't know more about role playing, like you can click on this one. You might find this article helpful. Doesn't want to open. Okay. Credit. You just give credit to all the website that you have used. Back to my. These are the 2 models, or these are the 2 samples that I wanted to share with you. But there are many benefits that we can get out of using WebQuest. I have put some point that I find like the most important, but I need to elicit from you more. It's like higher order of thinking, because they don't only read, write, they don't only integrate skills, they do critical reading, they do research, like research for topics, and we have autonomous learning because they are on their own, intrinsic motivation, and authenticity because they read about real things. They read real newspaper or real research papers for the first model, and for me, most importantly, it's a contingency plan. I remember that back in 2011, we had to stop like for a month. We didn't have classes. So designing like a backup plan, having a backup plan in case that you don't meet face-to-face with your students. So you can work off campus and you can still, the semester will keep going on. Like you don't have to stop. Now I'm just giving you, if I still have time, do you still have time? Yes. Great. So I want to elicit from you, what do you think other benefits we can get out of using a WebQuest? If there's something that you need to add. Is it all? Okay. Yes? Actually, most of them are. There will be a lot more tech savvy. Anything else? Do you have any questions for me?